The story starts off with several abyssal gates opening above a town, only for demonic-looking creatures to appear, forcing Brandon Stolen to gear up to protect his villages. RMC. Noel Stolen is frightened to hear his grandpa Brandon will be heading out to protect his village, all whilst Noel and their workers are asked to remain in their shelter until the capital arrives. Noel cries that Brandon is simply giving away his life, but Brandon triumphantly reminds Noel that he is a formidable warrior, words that inspire Noel to believe in Brandon's safe return. On the battlefield, we see the demons wreaking havoc, but a single beam of light pierces the chaos as Brandon takes center stage. With his trusty axe by his side, Brandon begins making quick work of the demons that swarm him. But not before long, a massive explosion marks the end of the battle. Noel is the first to rush outside to check on his grandpa. But Noel cries, seeing his grandpa has been mortally wounded, something Brandon doesn't regret, as his role as a seeker with the title of Overdeath was put to the test in his final moments. As the sun rises on a new day, Noel cries that he too will become a seeker and make his grandpa proud. And with Brandon's final words cheering Noel on, we move 2 years forward in time. Having upheld his promise to become a seeker, we see Noel in a cave with his party, Lloyd the swordsman, Tanya Clark the healer, and Walter the warrior, all whilst giving commands to deal with the monsters before them, only to reveal that his class as the Talker is the weakest support class of them all. Apparently, the monsters they slayed were lesser vampires, beings incapable of magic that are created by their queen, but they're still quite strong as they can't be slain unless their head is lobbed off. As the gang head deeper into the cave, Walter asks why they're hunting the lesser vampires when they can pick off their queen, but Noel reminds Walter that they're still only C ranks and that the queen with her kin is still too strong for them. Seeing how serious Noel is, Walter apologizes for questioning Noel's methods. But Walter does mock Noel for housing the Talker class that only specializes in buffing others with their words, a skill that allows their C-rank party to take on their current B-rank quest. Before Noel can snap back at Walter, we see the vampire queen appear from the shadows, only to spew out a hazy, poisonous fog that enshrouds Noel. The gang cry that Noel is in trouble, prompting Tanya to prepare a spell to clear the fog, but the queen simply blows Tanya back. When Walter rushes to brawl with the creature, we see Noel barely holding it together in the poisonous fog, and sadly, it seems the party stands no chance against the demonic vampire queen. Annoyed that everyone is looking down on him, Noel retrieves a potion only to burst through the fog, having equipped his revolver, ready to face the queen. Getting to work, Noel casts his tactician skill, an ability that enhances his teammates by 25%. Noel manages to predict and order his team to evade the creature's tentacle attacks, only to continue buffing them with his battle voice skill, ultimately giving the others enough courage to begin turning the tides. When Tanya sees that enemy reinforcements have arrived, Noel is forced to cast his peer support spell to snap Tanya out of her frightened state, only to set a timer for 74 seconds. Noel cries that he'll take on the small fries whilst the others deal with the queen, immediately using his voice to stun the attacking demons, only to finish them off with ice bullets fired by his magic gun Silver Flame. With a single lesser demon left, Noel declares that everything is going according to plan, swiftly drawing the attention of the queen with his last bullet. As Noel's timer ticks down, he chooses to cast his assault command to further enhance his team, and with their new powers, they manage to slay the queen with their ultimate trump cards. Before the gang can celebrate, they turn to see the final demon rushing Noel, but having timed everything perfectly, Noel states that the queens can all stop moving after she's passed away, officially marking the end of their battle. With another blue Beyond mission completed, the gang scolds Noel for being so reckless. But Noel can only think back to the moment when he cried after he was assigned the weak Talker class. Brandon had reassured Noel that if he worked harder, he could become a seeker, just like Brandon himself. And in the present, Noel once again declares he'll become a seeker that surpasses his late grandpa. In the imperial capital of the Venant Empire, Itrai, we see various advanced machinery roaming the land, all thanks to Magi engineering. It's quite well known that seekers are people who hunt beasts and purify lands affected by the abyss. And when Noel had turned 15, he moved to a try-and search for a party to fight alongside. The gang all celebrate a successful mission that pays out 5 million Phil coins, a surprise seeing as it is their first year together. But Noel mentions how a scout could further enhance their party. Seeing Noel lost in thought, Walter begins teasing Noel for being too serious all the time. And when Walter mocks Noel's father for raising Noel to only care about money, Noel suddenly snaps. Flashing back, Brandon is seen instructing Noel to earn and spend his money wisely on the gear he brings to battle. And to top things off, Brandon had instructed Noel to ignore the people who look down on him. Noel manages to quench his anger, but this only riles Walter up more as he says Noel is way too weak and young to be acting so tough. But sternly, Noel says Walter is too dumb to draw out his own strength, something that catches everyone's attention. As Walter continues to badmouth Noel, Noel simply stokes the flame, only for both boys to prepare to brawl. Luckily, Lloyd steps in and breaks them up, only to cut to later that evening where the gang are given 250,000 coins each after all the repair fees for their gear. Seeing Tanya sad, Lloyd chooses to comfort her, but Noel reminds everyone that high-paying missions are rare, especially since they're only subcontractors. Noel says working for others is way too taxing for them, and seeing as their party has saved up around 12 million coins, Noel cries he'll cover the remaining 8 million coins so they can start their own clan. Immediately, Lloyd and Tanya fear that they'll need to find land for a home base, plus they're too inexperienced. But Noel stands strong, declaring that they'll use their youthful looks to climb up the ladder and join those who have already established themselves with the government. Walter is clearly enticed by the fame and power he'll get when he grows stronger, wondering if he can even bag Tanya down the line, but Lloyd steps in to stop Walter's advances. Seeing as Walter is on board and Tanya is against, Noel threatens to leave the party if Lloyd turns tail on his dream. But seeing Noel's conviction, Lloyd agrees to start a clan with Noel. Seeing as Lloyd is the leader, he says they'll finalize everything in 2 days' time at his place, prompting everyone to head off for the day. With Tanya and Lloyd acting strangely, we cut to the big day, where Walter reports that Tanya and Lloyd had run off with their funds, only leaving behind a single note. Reading the note, Noel hears that Lloyd had actually used the money their party saved up to pay off his own debt, something that makes Noel burst out laughing. Walter says he had found another interesting job for them, but when he went to tell Lloyd about the job, all he found was an empty room with only the note. Noel hears that Tanya and Lloyd left around 8 last night, annoying Noel as they waited till last minute to flee the scene, and seeing as they have a 12-hour lead, Noel says they'll follow after them. Seeing Walter fired up, Noel reminds Walter that their friends betrayed them, so the only way to settle things is a battle to the death. Walter says he can take on Lloyd with Noel's help, but Walter admits that attacking Tanya would be hard, but Noel could care less as he wants his money back. Suiting up, the boys head to the Orc Club, only for Noel to announce that their own party members had run off with their money. Noel sets a bounty of 2 million coins for anyone that can capture them alive, but Walter demands to know what Noel is doing. Noel says it'll all make sense soon, leading the Lightning Bite Party led by Wolf Lehman to accept, but this encourages other seekers from different parties to join in. Confronted by an older-looking seeker, the old man utters that he saw Tanya and Lloyd whilst returning from his adventures, and when the old man demands 2 million coins for the intel, Noel glares at him, declaring he'll only pay 1 million coins at most. Having assessed the old man to be a desperate soul, Noel gets the old man to accept his conditions, revealing that he saw Tanya and Lloyd passing by the Varley Road outside the South Gate, and it seems they're headed for Carno Village. With Noel instructing Walter to escort the old man and his party to the South Gate. Noel arrives a little late since he needs to set up something, confirming to Walter that he is ready to put down his own party when the time comes. With everyone ready, they set off towards Carno Village, but as we cut to Lloyd and Tanya, we see they've only just made it to Carno Village on foot. When the lovers make plans to rest for the night, they're horrified when they spot Noel and Walter have caught up to them. And as the rest of the Seekers make themselves known, Lloyd draws his blade only to be stunned by Noel's howl skill. Walter immediately begins interrogating Lloyd for their money back, but Lloyd cries that his poor investment choices wiped out their party's funds, Sadly, Noel deduces that Lloyd had actually been gambling away their money behind their backs. Finally revealing his true colors, Lloyd cries that he didn't want to be the leader in the first place, and it was natural that he could use the party's money as he pleases. But this pisses Noel off as he whacks Lloyd in the face with a kick. As Noel begins stomping Lloyd's head in, he reminds Lloyd that he demanded to be their leader when they first formed their party. But Tanya begs Noel to stop. Suspecting Tanya is hiding things as well, Noel uses his confess skill to force Tanya to admit to gambling with Lloyd, annoying Tanya as she says mind control is illegal. Sadly, Noel could care less since he is dealing with criminals. And as Noel's rage reaches its breaking point, he suddenly announces that Tanya and Lloyd will be turned in and locked up where they can work off their debts. Seeing as things are wrapped up, the old man demands his 1 million coin payment. But seeing the old geezer getting a little aggressive, Noel strikes the man with an empowered punch. In the past, his Gramps had taught Noel to aim for his enemy's weak points in order to have a fighting chance, especially since his talker class doesn't allow him to buff himself. As the old man is carried off to rest, we suddenly see a flamboyant-looking carriage arriving, only for Finocchio Barzini, one of the owners of the biggest mafia groups in the imperial capital, to appear. Noel acknowledges Finocchio to be a very dangerous man, having been given the title of Mad Clown, and it seems Noel had made a deal with Finocchio to sell off Tanya and Lloyd to make up for their lost funds. When Tanya and Lloyd refuse to be sold, Noel reminds the pair that being arrested by the government is the worst, and as Finocchio heads to appraise his new merchandise, he reports that they're only worth 6 million. Noel cries that the amount is too low, but Finocchio says the Holy Cross Church is cracking down on slave trade, an issue even a mafia can't solve. Although Noel understands Finocchio's pain, he still demands 11 million coins, but when Finocchio refuses to pay, Noel raises the amount to 15 million. Finocchio gets pissed seeing how cocky Noel is, but Noel says he'll say he sold the duo for 30 million, and seeing as Lloyd and Tanya are quite young, Noel says Finocchio will be able to sell them for an even greater amount. Enticed by the deal, Finocchio agrees to keep their deal between them, even ordering the old man and his party to keep quiet about their deal. With Finocchio paying the 15 million coins, we see Tanya begging Walter for help. But when Walter refuses, Tanya reveals her true colors, admitting that she knew Walter was in love with her and she was using him all this time. Just like that, the duo are dragged off, and with Noel paying the old geezer his dues, Noel smirks, having been given the title of Heartless Devil. In the coming days, we follow Noel seeing Walter off for the final time, flashing back to the moment when Walter had told Noel he would be quitting as a Seeker. Noel had asked Walter to rebuild their Blue Beyond party from scratch, but Walter refused, cutting back to the present where Noel bids Walter farewell, both dwelling in whatever memories they had of their former party, only for Walter to admit that Tanya had secretly loved Noel all along. Back at the Orc Club, we see Wolf trying to recruit Noel for his own party, announcing that their Lighting Bite Sirang party is composed of skilled individuals, plus they have an elven archer named Lisha. When Wolf continues to annoy Noel, Noel agrees to join on the condition that he is made the leader of their party, something Wolf's party members aren't opposed to. Before Wolf can negotiate, they're all alerted by a mysterious-looking girl who asks to speak with Noel. Introducing herself as Alma Judicali, she says she has come to take the interview to join Noel's party, and seeing as Alma is 21 and is 5 years older than Noel, Noel becomes intrigued. With Alma answering other questions the Lightning Bite members throw at her, she tops things off by declaring she is a C-rank scout, and before Noel can ask why Alma has become a Seeker, she reveals that she had been searching for Noel all this time. Alma says Brandon had actually fought with her own Gramps in the past, and it ended with Brandon slicing off Alma's Gramps' arm. And luckily, Alma feels no hatred towards Noel for what Brandon did. Both Alma and Noel utter that their Gramps passed away already, but curious Noel asks who Alma's Gramps was, suddenly freezing when he hears it was Alcor Judicali, a legendary assassin in the Underworld Enterprise. Having been listening to their conversation, Logan, a fellow Seeker, accuses Alma of lying, plus Noel mentions how a Seeker is defined by their class, rank, and strength. Alma offers to pummel Logan to prove she is strong, and as Logan rushes her with a punch, Alma easily slips the attack only to stab at Logan's throat with her palm. As Logan drops to his knees, Alma throws out an axe kick to put Logan to sleep, officially granting her a position in Noel's party. That evening, Noel buys Alma a burger to snack on, a food item Alma has never tasted before since she lived in the mountains. Noel admits he didn't believe Alma's story at first, but Alma says she knew Noel was over Death's grandson the moment she saw Noel's eyes, having been warned by Alcor to never engage with Overdeath since he was too unpredictable. Alma says she had trained in the mountains to be a scout and eventually become an assassin, but Noel asks why Alma doesn't just rank up to a B-rank seeker and join the Society of Assassins. Apparently, when Alma took the assassin's test, she was pitted up against a weakling that she easily danced circles around, but before she could put down her opponent, the new head of the society stopped her. Simon Gregory declared that Alma wasn't fit to join them, and although she is strong enough, her old ways of thinking don't suit the society. Noel also hears that the new Assassin Society will be partnering with the government to preserve their future, freaking Noel out as such intel is dangerous, but Alma says she'll protect Noel moving forward. The next day, the duo head into a forest, only for Noel to fill Alma in on his skills as a talker, uttering that his role is quite important as he has to assess the battlefield and give commands since he can't buff himself. Stopping by a river, Noel asks Alma to catch a monster for him, creatures that have been mutated but aren't as scary as beasts that appear from the abyss. As Alma's first task, Noel says she'll be hunting a killer rabbit whilst he buffs her, uttering that Alma will need to get used to her new body with his skills. Alma says she has the Excel skill to multiply her speed 5-fold, and seeing as it took a while for her body to get used to her speed skill, Noel says he's intrigued to see how long it'll take for Alma to get used to his buffs. Fired up, Alma gets serious, only to declare that there are 13 killer rabbits in a 200-meter radius of them. As Noel casts Tactician and Battle Voice on Alma, Alma begins to feel a strange sensation as power seems to be overflowing from her. And with her new buffs, Noel says Alma will be able to increase her speed 6-fold. Setting a timer for 10 seconds, Noel orders Alma to catch at least one rabbit in the span of 10 seconds, prompting Alma to speed off into the forest, amazed by how light her body is. Before the 10 seconds elapses, Alma returns with all 13 bunnies, making Noel jealous at how skilled Alma is. Seeing as they're ready, Noel shows Alma a letter addressed to him asking for help with clearing out some bandits on the outskirts of the Mince village. A perfect first mission for their revitalized Blue Beyond party, setting off towards their destination by carriage. Noel says there are various jobs they partake in as seekers apart from slaying beasts that appear from the abyss, and these mainly include monster hunting, capturing criminals, treasure hunting, and even mythic hunting. For their bandit hunt, it seems like the regional lord had failed to help out the village in need, inspiring Alma to work hard as she wants to make Noel proud. Noel is taken back by the feeling of adventuring with his former party, and as we move forward in time, we see Alma has strained her bottom from sitting too much. Choosing to rest for the night in the town of Eudora, Noel says they'll continue to Mince the next day, but as he searches around town, Noel fails to book an inn for them. After a while of searching, our duo succeed in booking a single room, and seeing as Noel is happy to sleep on the floor, Alma teases Noel for being a good boy. With Alma decompressing with some stretches, we see Noel wrap up a shower, but Alma is impressed by how toned Noel's body is. When Alma inspects Noel's body, she declares that it's a shame that Noel will never be as strong as his Gramps, seeing as no amount of hard work can outwork his terrible talker class. But Noel could care less, ordering Alma to wash up. At night, Noel collapses into bed, only to think about how unfair it is that he was born into such a weak body. The next day, Noel is awoken by the sweet embrace of some buns. But as Noel and Alma head out to Mince, they greet the village chief as it's been a long time. The chief is a little worried, seeing as Noel's party is now only composed of one other person. But regardless, he invites our duo in for some tea. Off to the side, we see Chelsea, the village chief's daughter, spying on them. But Noel apologizes as he believes Chelsea was looking forward to meeting Lloyd again. getting down to business. Noel confirms that around 20 bandits have been terrorizing the nearby villages, and it seems they take the village's women. Luckily, the chief says their hideout is somewhere near the rocky clearing in the East Forest. With Noel given his upfront payment of 200,000 coins and promised another 300,000 upon completion, Noel and Alma immediately set out. But Alma is pissed seeing as the chief was sneaking glances at her. Before they get too far, we see Chelsea catching up to them only to wish them good luck. But Noel notices Chelsea holding the dragonfly bamboo Noel had made her in the past. As Chelsea runs off, Alma tries teasing Noel for charming such an innocent girl. But Noel ignores her, cutting to later that night where our duo have found the bandits' hideout. Upon further inspection, Noel says there are more than 20 bandits plus, it seems that Gordo the Razorblade is their leader, a B-rank scout with a 2 million coin bounty. Noel says Alma will take on Gordo whilst he deals with the others. And with Alma sneaking into the bandits' camp with her stealth skill, Noel makes use of his link skill to communicate with Alma. Having made it to Gordo's tent, Alma gives Noel a signal to use his howling roar, instantly stunning all the bandits but Gordo, and with Noel buffing Alma, she swiftly assassinates Gordo with a single blow. Seeing the bandits rushing Alma, Noel orders Alma to keep them busy as he rushes to her side, and with a flash grenade, Noel fires off some fiery bullets that incinerate the remaining bandits. Returning to the village chief, Noel shows off Gordo's head to confirm they finished their job, but to celebrate, the chief invites our duo in for a hearty meal before he pays the rest of the promised coins. The chief reports that Chelsea had been assessed as a swordsman, exciting Noel as he advises Chelsea to train at a try where the classes will be free, but she'll still need to cover her living and travel expenses. Chelsea is sad she needs to save up money, but Noel says she can earn some cash by working as a supporter for some seekers, and she can start by registering for the Supporters Guild. Off to the side, we see the chief and his wife exchanging suspicious glances, all whilst Noel continues to hype Chelsea up as he promises to recruit her in the future. Cutting the conversation short, the chief chooses to uncork an expensive-looking wine, choosing to serve a cup to both Noel and Alma to thank them for their hard work. Immediately, Noel detects something is off with the expensive wine, instead asking the chief to take the first sip, especially since he had poisoned the wine. Insulted, the chief demands to know what proof Noel has. But Noel simply points out how the chief lied about the number of thieves they had to face, plus the wine is quite cheap, and Noel can sense the chief's bloodlust. Noel says he knows the chief is only using them and wants to steal their expensive gear, and before Noel can ask the chief to drink the wine, the chief knocks it away. Annoyed, Noel uses his confess skill to have the chief admit to poisoning the wine, and with Chelsea in disbelief, Noel rushes to pluck out one of the chief's eyes. When the chief begs for his life, Noel demands every last coin the chief has, but the chief says he needs to repay his dues to the Gambino family. Noel could care less, preparing to pluck out the chief's other eye, but Chelsea arrives just in time, offering up all 800,000 coins they have been saving up, an amount that makes Noel stand down. As Noel leaves, Chelsea declares that she hates all seekers, but Alma teases Noel for hurting Chelsea even though she liked him. Ignoring Alma, Noel points out the giant airship flying above them, and upon seeing the Goat Dinner clan with a 3-star regalia, Noel says the clan has been acknowledged by the Empire. Noel explains that there are 7 regalia clans in total, with the 4 weakest clans housing 3 regalia stars, 2 clans housing 2 regalia stars, and the strongest clan housing a single regalia star. Alma is impressed that the 7 regalia clans can have their own airship, but Noel says the clans are also powerful and wealthy, a new goal that Noel says they'll reach in a year's time. Suddenly remembering something, we cut back to before Alma failed her Assassin Society exam, as Simon had accused Alma of being the one to put down Alcor when he got too old. Without denying it, Alma says she was raised to slay the weak, and once Alcor grew old, she found her chance to slay her gramps. Simon says it's a pity that Alcor was never able to defeat over death. But interestingly, Simon deduces that Alma is actually Alcor's daughter, another secret Alma had been hiding. Alma says that Alcor had given birth to many children in hopes of raising a child that could equal or even surpass his own strength. And over time, Alma was the one that survived out of all of his children, and it was then when she snuffed out Alcor and took his place. Simon had told Alma she wasn't fit to join their new assassin society, seeing as her brutal way of killing isn't what they need to sustain their society. But this only makes Alma tear up, as she had devoted 21 years of her life only to be rejected. With Alma falling into despair, Simon had mentioned how Overdeath had a grandchild of his own. Simon says Alma should learn how to live for herself, and maybe even learn a thing or two from Noelle. And having heeded Simon's advice, we see Alma embracing Noelle as she declares she'll forever be by Noelle's side. Elsewhere, we see a white-haired man stealing the clothing of a guard. And with the white-haired man transforming into the guard and returning to his post, he hears that the death row inmate Hugo Capelia, the puppeteer, is someone they should look out for. In the morning, we see Noelle performing his daily sprints back in a try, a routine Noelle picked up from his gramps, as both men would fight and train endlessly all day long. As Noelle cleans off, he exits the shower only to see Alma jealous that Noelle's room is bigger than hers. But before Noelle can put on some clothes, Alma pins him to the bed. Alma says she will be Noelle's big sister moving forward, choosing to lean in for a kiss, seeing how cute Noelle is. But Noelle manages to defuse the situation with a headbutt. Heading through town, Alma pretends to be Noelle's girlfriend, only to hear that they'll be heading to the Appraisers Guild in a try to get Alma's class and rank appraised. Noelle says that Appraisers is a unique class to gnomes as they can't rank up, and as our duo watch another seeker getting their class appraised, Noelle sees that Alma has manifested her ranking up mark on her chest. Noelle asks Alma to hold off from becoming an assassin, as they need to recruit another seeker before they can finalize a party suited to enter the abyss. So instead, our duo head to check out some gear they can purchase, catching the attention of the shopkeeper to see how voluptuous Alma is. Up next, Noelle checks out the bookstore for any skills that will be useful to Alma. And with a budget of 1 million coins, Alma settles on a massive teddy bear along with an armor-piercing skill. Noelle is sad that the exorcism skill he wanted that can wipe out any undead cost 30 million coins. Suddenly, a strange figure passes by Noelle, prompting Noelle to follow after it all whilst Alma stays put, and coincidentally the white-haired man, Loki, is the one greeting Noelle. Loki hands Noelle the information he wanted about Hugo the puppeteer, shocked when he hears that Noelle wants to recruit a criminal for his party. But Noelle believes Hugo was framed. Noelle thanks Loki for the intel, still baffled that Loki can imitate anyone, someone even the Appraisers Guild doesn't know off. With Loki receiving his payment, Loki warns Noelle about a devastating drug that has been passed around lately, and strangely a Luciano member is selling the drug. Noelle knows that the area is governed by Albert Gambino, a horrible revelation as it seems Albert doesn't care about what happens to his people. But at the same time, we see Alma stuffing herself with meat, pissed that Noelle isn't spending time with her. Suddenly, Lisha runs into Alma, but back with Noelle he is concerned, seeing as Albert took over after the previous boss had passed and now the area has gone to ruins. As Noelle passes a disheveled-looking man, he feels bad for the soul as they seem to have been dealt a bad hand. So he tosses the beggar some money, but suddenly the man calls out to Noelle. The man says Noelle dropped some money, accidentally mistaking Noelle for a girl. But Noelle says he doesn't want the money, kicking the man aside only to prepare to leave. Seeing as Noelle resembles someone he knows, the beggar stands back up only to take a battle stance with his walking stick, but immediately Noelle detects a powerful aura coming from a man. In the blink of an eye, the beggar slashes at Noelle's neck before he can cast a spell, but luckily Noelle's reflexes force his body to evade the lethal attack. As the beggar pokes and slashes at Noelle, Noelle manages to slam the man into a nearby building. But the man wonders if Noelle is a ninja, a subclass of the scout that only exists far east from their nation. As the man takes another battle stance, his power begins overflowing from head to toe, intriguing Noelle. Apologizing for his rudeness earlier, Noelle gets ready to test the man's capabilities, but suddenly Miguel the halfling calls out to Koga. As Miguel scolds Koga for acting up, we cut back to Alma chatting with her friend, seemingly discussing whether she should rank up to be an assassin, a torturer, a chaser, or a bandit. Lisha asks what Noel is up to, freaking Alma out when Lisha says Noel is probably off recruiting other members. Back with Noel, he sees Miguel prepare to punish Koga for disobeying him, and with the activation of a ring, Koga suddenly is struck with some powerful magic. Noel recognizes the magic to be an oath of subordination, and it seems Koga is Miguel's slave. Before Miguel can creep on Noel's beautiful face, Noel kicks Miguel aside only to demand to know who Miguel is, hearing that Miguel is from the southern town of Solduland. Miguel also discloses that he has been running the D'Alembert family's underground fighting ring. But having stolen some of the boss's earnings, Miguel had fled Solduland and ended up in a try. Noel praises Miguel for fleeing to a try where D'Alemberts won't dare enter. But seeing as Noel wants Koga to himself, he is prepared to slay Miguel to claim Koga for himself. At the same time, we see Lisha warning Alma to not get jealous when Noel recruits other strong people to join his party, but Alma is confident that she'll be able to defeat anyone that challenges her. With a devilish glare, Noel fires his gun to scare off Miguel, who orders Koga to flee with him. When Noel returns to Alma, he greets Lisha, who asks what he was doing, but Noel hides the fact that he had found another promising party member. Noel asks what Lisha knows about the drug circulating, but Lisha only knows that it makes the user go berserk, scaring Noel as it seems the drug is spreading rapidly. Following Miguel, we see him and Koga kneeling before Albert, who has captured them, and seeing as there is a bounty on Miguel's head, Albert says he would like to return Miguel as a stuffed doll back to the D'Alemberts, freaking Miguel out. With Albert calling for Laos to make preparations, we see Koga rethinking his life decisions as he fled his home village only to be captured and enslaved. At that moment, the chief from the Mint's village appears, only to apologize, seeing as he was robbed and can't repay his dues. The chief says Noel was the one that attacked him and even considered Albert and his family pathetic. And with Albert agreeing to hunt down Noel to get his money back, Albert first demands that the chief offer up his right arm as temporary compensation. As Albert orders Koga to lob off the chief's arm, we see Albert swallowing a sparkly gem only to suddenly trip over the drug, and with a single swing, Koga cleanly slices off the chief's right arm. Miguel utters that Koga is a skilled swordsman from the land of Vajra, and seeing as Koga has potential, Albert demands to have Koga as his own slave. Just like that, Koga is asked to change out of his dirty clothing, all whilst recounting how his father was a wealthy merchant whilst his mother was a beautiful woman. When his parents had prayed for an heir to their Tsukishima household, they were suddenly attacked and Koga's mother was assaulted, and not before long Koga was born as an illegitimate child. After that, Koga's father refused to accept Koga as his son, and this led Koga's mother to take her own life, leaving Koga to live and fend on his own. In the coming years, Koga was sold off as a slave to Miguel, where he was forced to take part in arena battles, and seeing as Miguel praised him, Koga mindlessly followed Miguel's order. With Koga now suited up, we cut to later that night where Noel is contacted by Loki, only to be warned that Albert is coming for Noel. Noel hears that Albert was the only son of previous Gambino's boss, and before Loki can say anything else, Noel suddenly detects a monstrous presence approaching. Realizing that Loki had betrayed him, Noel readies his gun to shoot down his traitorous friend, but seeing as Loki is still useful to him, he orders Loki to scram, popping a stimulant potion to enhance his body for 10 minutes. Noel is surprised to see Koga all suited up in some impressive gear, but Koga says he can't attack Noel since he gave him a coin earlier. To make things fair, Koga cries that he is a C-rank longswordsman, something Noel appreciates as he too reveals his talker class. As the battle starts, Koga monstrously evades Noel's gunfire, and with 2 slashes, Koga forces Noel to evade with some wiring into the air. Firing a flame-infused bullet, Noel lights up the surrounding area, but Koga is clearly unfazed by the flames. Interestingly, Koga had sliced the surrounding area to create a vacuum to protect himself from the searing flames, and as Koga continues to pursue Noel, they end up brawling under the moonlight. When Noel goes for a cheap shot, Koga leaps back only to scold Noel for such underhanded tactics, but Noel uses the opening to toss out a flashbang. As Noel rushes towards the blinded Koga, Koga masterfully employs his secret blade skill to slash the surrounding area, forcing Noel to switch to defense. With dust covering the surrounding area, Noel barely manages to detect Koga sneaking up on him, swiftly blocking a slash with his gun. Koga is seen slicing the earth below Noel only to leap onto him from above. And when Noel howls to stun Koga, Koga easily cancels out the cast, leaving Noel to plummet to his demise. Waking up from his fall, Noel sees that Koga is on top of him, ready to put him down, but strangely Koga can't seem to slay Noel. Annoyed, Noel grips onto Koga's blade, scolding Koga for giving up his chance to slay him, as Albert will have his head if he doesn't complete his mission. Before Koga can react, we see several projectiles draw Koga's attention away from Noel as Alma herself makes her grand appearance. With Noel's potion running out, we see Alma order to slay Koga, and as Alma leaps forth, Koga cries that he doesn't want to slay a bystander. Alma is insulted, but after a few exchanges with Koga, she agrees to get serious. Ramping up her speed, Alma darts around the room only to fire off several projectiles, but instantly reacting, Koga employs a cherry blossom slashing technique that cleaves the projectiles. Focusing in, Koga uses his calm and serene skill to enhance his senses, and within mere moments, Koga has already adapted to Alma's speed. Noel admits that he had underestimated Koga, more fired up than ever to tame Koga, seeing as he would be useful as an ally. After a few moments, we see Alma and Koga chatting for a bit, but shortly after Alma infuses her blade with poison to ensure Koga is defeated. With Koga taking a battle stance, we see a flashbang stop the monsters from clashing, only for Noel to order Alma to stop since they're retreating. As for Koga, Noel advises that Koga to leave as well, seeing as the police will arrive soon and it would be best that Albert's slave not be arrested. Before Koga leaves, Noel gives him a message to relay to Albert. And horrifically the next day, Albert shows off the head of Miguel, as it seems he was pissed Koga wasn't able to slay Noel. Koga promises to not mess up moving forward, only to relay that Noel wants Albert to personally hunt him down instead of being a coward, a taunt that provokes Albert as he orders Leos to gather their men. Outside, Koga apologizes to Leos for provoking Albert, but Koga simply respected Noel too much not to deliver his message. Koga says it's a shame that Noel trains so hard, and sadly he'll never be able to reach Koga's level. Interestingly, Koga is still enthralled by how cool Noel behaved. Before Koga can say any more, Leos stops Koga, admitting that he too respected someone once. Following Albert, we see him confronting Noel at the Orc Club, and immediately Alma detects a bunch of A ranks and B ranks have surrounded the building. With Albert gulping down some of Noel's wine, Noel begins by cussing out Albert for his poor table manners, but this makes Albert want to slice out Noel's tongue. As Albert rushes to cut Noel, Logan suddenly appears asking Albert to calm down, and before Albert can remind everyone who he is, Logan and the surrounding Seekers draw their weapons ready to defend their honor. When Albert orders Leos and his men to attack the Seekers, Leos says they'll have to explain things to Don Luciano if they cause a scene, plus Leos reminds Albert that the drug issue he caused will be brought to light. Before Albert can leave the scene, Noel continues to mock how brainless of a monkey Albert is. And to top things off, Noel reveals that the wine Albert drank was poisoned, a lucky accident for them. Immediately, Albert tries barfing up the wine, but seeing that it's no use, Albert demands that he be taken to the hospital. As for Leos, he is impressed at how Noel manipulated Albert. Plus, Leos knows that the wine wasn't actually poisoned. Leos chooses to repay Noel for the wine Albert drank, only to ask Noel to leave town immediately, or else Leos will personally take down Noel. Seeing no other choice, Noel agrees to Leos's conditions, nonchalantly leaving the club and even exiting through the town's gates. But surprisingly, Noel had already predicted everything that happened. Noel says they'll return in a week's time, leading Alma to train in the forest whilst Noel investigates a rumor he heard. And as a week flies by, we see our duo being confronted by Albert, who had caught them entering the town. Seeing as Albert has brought reinforcements, he orders for his men to torture Noel, but strangely none of them move. Albert demands to know what his men are doing, but Noel simply laughs at how powerless Albert is, flashing back to when Leos and his men are having a meeting to discuss whether they should be listening to such a twisted boss. The men cry that they had to torture an innocent girl recently, an order the previous boss would have never issued. And seeing as the men are conflicted, Noel arrives to help them out. Instantly, Noel sees the dragonfly bamboo toy Chelsea used to play with, gritting his teeth only to calmly show the men Albert's birth certificate. With the help of Loki, Noel had learnt that Albert's mom had cheated on the former boss and gave birth to Albert. This means Albert is the previous boss's illegitimate child. Loki suspects that the former boss knew this, but still considered Albert as his son to honor his love, and to top things off, Noel wants Loki to find out how the previous boss passed away. In the present, Leos cries that they know Albert isn't the previous boss's actual son, and to top things off, they found out that Albert had poisoned the former boss to ensure he inherited the boss's will, a despicable act Noel was able to uncover after speaking with the doctor that Albert bribed to keep quiet. When Albert tries denying everything once more, Leos says it's too late, but seeing as the former boss did entrust Albert with everything, Leos says Albert must fight Noel to reclaim his honor. As a handicap, Leos says Albert can elect any one of them to fight in his place. And to make things worse, Pinocchio appears, declaring he'll stand as witness to their upcoming duel. Noel says Pinocchio has been searching for an excuse to take out Albert, as he is tarnishing the Gambino name. And if Noel dethrones Albert, Pinocchio will personally pay Noel 50 million coins. Before Albert can back out, Pinocchio reminds Albert that he has no choice, and seeing as winning will mean he can get off scot-free, Albert elects Koga to fight for him. Alma is amazed Noel had predicted everything up until now, and surprisingly Noel himself says he'll deal with Koga, only to gulp down a potion. As it begins to rain, Koga notices Noel's determined eyes, inspiring him to take the bout seriously as he respects Noel. As both boys draw their weapons, Pinocchio announces the start of their duel, only for Noel to leap into the air all whilst firing an ice bullet. Using his blossom slashing skill, Koga detonates the ice bullet, only for the boys to be encased in an ice ring. With Albert excited to see Koga decimate Noel, we see Noel managing to fend off Koga, but when Koga takes a battle stance, Noel braces for Koga's lethal slash. Having set up everything for this moment, Noel tosses away his gun only to brandish his blade, and by shouting out a random fact, Noel gets Koga to drop his guard. Rushing in for a thrust, Noel takes a stab from Koga's sword, choosing to flex his muscles to grab and throw away Koga's blade. Sadly, Koga simply pummels Noel with punches, only to rush to retrieve his blade, followed up by letting loose a torrential slash that blows open the ice ring. With Noel flying through the air, Koga leaps onto him with a slash, but strangely hundreds of bullets fly out from under Noel's shirt. Instantly, the destroyed ice bullets begin trapping Koga in ice, and as Noel leaps into the air, he officially knocks out Koga with a flying kick. Admitting defeat, Koga says he never fought back against the people who ridiculed him for existing, and it was only when he had become a gladiator did he fight, since it meant he could live. With Noel deemed a winner, Koga wonders what Noel would have done if he was raised in his shoes. And as Noel leaves, Leos promises to assist Noel if he ever needs their help, only for Pinocchio to take Albert away. In an abandoned building, Alma helps patch Noel up, a little annoyed since Noel fought when Alma was ready to fight for Noel. Noel promises to be less reckless in the future, wishing that Chelsea can rest now that Albert is gone, and coincidentally Pinocchio appears, thanking Noel for taking out his competition. Asking to speak with Noel alone, Pinocchio asks Noel to join his family, but Noel stands firm as he doesn't want to associate with the Mafia. Saddened, Pinocchio reminds Noel that he's a scout with the Punisher class, swiftly stealing Noel's heart only to declare that he was able to do so after Noel turned down his offer to join his family twice. Pinocchio says if he crushes Noel's heart or if Noel moves more than 5 meters away from his heart, Noel will instantly die. Pinocchio admits that Noel is too talented for his age, plus it seems Noel will one day become a threat to his Luciano family. So Finocchio gives Noel one final chance to become part of his family. Sadly, Noel still refuses, suddenly rising up only to stare down Finocchio as Noel's aura begins to fill with bloodlust. Finocchio is a bit taken aback by how scary Noel is acting, but Noel hits deep when he reminds Finocchio that the Barzinis nor the Lucianos would use such underhanded tactics to take out their foes, a threat that forces Finocchio to relinquish Noel's heart. Finocchio apologizes for the prank he pulled on Noel, but before he leaves he reminds Noel that he'd better keep his word and become strong. With Finocchio passing by Alma waiting outside, he heads towards the groveling Albert, only to announce that Albert will be fed to his pigs. The next day, Noel is glad to see that Koga is now his servant. But Noel doesn't want to tame Koga. Instead, he wants Koga to pick the life he wants to live. Mesmerized by the offer, Koga declares he wants to fight alongside Noel, an answer that grants Koga a position in Noel's Blue Beyond party. Immediately, we see our trio taking on a swarm of goblins, all drawing out each other's potential as they begin making their way towards the Goblin General. With Noel's precise commands, we see Koga deal the finishing blow to lob off the general's head, but this annoys Alma as she wanted all the glory. Before Alma and Koga can bicker some more, Noel stops them only to commend them for the amazing teamwork they put on display today, and seeing as they can finally form a clan, Noel says he'll submit the paperwork soon. Koga hears that a clan is far superior than a party as they are recognized by the government and can accept jobs directly instead of having to pay a commission every time they want a mission. Interestingly, Noel notices that his rank-up mark has manifested, exciting Noel as he can finally ascend to the B rank, one step closer to his goal of forming a top regalia clan. Flashing back, we see Noel at home meeting up with the inspector of the Seekers Guild, Harold Jenkins. As Noel serves Harold some of his family's fine wine, he mentions how he'll be stepping down as head of his family and will be passing on his wealth to his employees. But getting down to business, Noel demands to know why Harold is here. Noel says he had already told the guild about what happened to his hometown, but Harold unveils an image of the depth level 13 beast lord that supposedly slayed his grandpa, an image that confirms Noel's suspicions. Noel says when he spoke with his gramps, he noticed that the Beast Lord's body and his Gramps axe was gone, and it seems the major clan Knight Rage tried subduing it, but no luck. When Supreme Dragon went after it, the Beast Lord fled into the void. Strange behavior, as this particular beast seems to be quite intelligent. To make things worse, the Beast Lord may ascend into one of the 10 Valiants, beings capable of wiping out the world by themselves. The last known recording of a Valiant appearing was the Cocytus Silverfish, and it was Overdeath and his blood-sworn Federation clan that wiped out the Calamity. Interestingly, Noel is unfazed by the news, surprising Harold as he sees Overdeath's glare in Noel. Harold reveals that he used to work for Overdeath in his guild, and although Harold was worried about Noel, luckily, it seems Noel's glare has convinced him otherwise, cutting to the present day, where Harold sees our trio passing by. Entering the Seekers Guild, we see Koga worried that their clan will get rejected, but Noel says it should be a breeze. Out of nowhere, our trio sense someone watching them, but before they attack, Harold appears, defusing the situation. Sitting down, Harold confirms that Noel has prepared a place for his clan along with 20 million coins, and seeing as Noel and Alma will be beranked soon and their clan name will be Blue Beyond, Harold chooses to reject the formation of their clan. Elsewhere, we follow Supreme Dragon, the submaster of the one-star Regalia clan, Zeke Feinstein, nonchalantly taking down a Beast Lord with a depth rating of 12. Harold says he can't be accepting weak Seekers, especially since a mana river west of their empire is set to explode, and within a year's time the explosion will rip open a portal to the abyss where a Valiant will be summoned. Since the mana explosion can't be stopped, Harold says the first tier's Supreme Dragon, the second tier's Khan and Cave of the Universe, along with the third tier's Blade Flash, Goat Dinner, Pandemonium, and Lorelei will be taking part in exterminating the Valiant. Harold says they have no use for Seekers that don't hold a candle to the Regalia clans, and with Noel admitting that they aren't that strong yet, Noel declares they'll return strong enough for Harold to acknowledge them as worthy. With Harold excited to see what Noel can achieve, we see Noel remind the gang that the heart of Sidus the silverfish was ultimately used to generate infinite water for the Empire. Noel says they'll have to join the regalia in 6 months, but first they need to establish a name for themselves before they can form their own clan, and luckily Noel says he has the perfect plan for the job. First things first, Noel heads to receive his rank up, and having chosen to specialize as a strategist, we see a gnome helping to imbue him with power, officially ranking him up. Outside, Noel runs into Zeke, who has been surrounded by fans. But interestingly, Zeke is aware of who Noel is. Noel says that there are only 3 EX ranked Seekers in the capital, these being Kingslayer Leo Eden, the Master of Pandemonium, the Beginning One Victor Krauser, the Master of Supreme Dragon, and finally Innocent Blade, Zeke Feinstein. Zeke mentions how he heard that Noel was the one that helped replace Albert, but when Noel tries feigning ignorance, Zeke asks that Noel be honest with him. Getting straight to the point, Zeke orders Noel to join the Supreme Dragon, and when Noel refuses, Zeke prepares to use force. Noel says he wants Zeke to prove that he is a powerful leader, and with Victor aging, Noel wants to see if Zeke or Leo is stronger. Zeke says if he and Leo fight, one of them will surely be slayed, and seeing as Zeke is unable to prove himself as stronger, Noel takes the chance to leave the scene. Off to the side, we see some men chatting about how Zeke is weaker than Leo, but this pisses Zeke off as he blows the men away. With Noel taking note of Zeke's insecurity, we follow Alma training with Lisha, and interestingly, Lisha's battle sense gives her the victory over Alma. Taking a break, Lisha utters that Alma's emotions get the better of her during battle, but out of nowhere, Ophelia appears. Lisha introduces Ophelia as a member of the Winged Knights and one of her archer friends that grew up in the same village as her. Interestingly, Khan the Lancer, Valclav the Summoner, and Leon Frederick are also part of the Winged Knights. Before Ophelia can warn the girls to not associate with Noel due to the strange rumors going around, Leon stops Ophelia only for the gang to head off for some lunch. At night, we see Noel scanning other B-rank parties with Loki's help, and coincidentally Leon and his Winged Knights clan catches Noel's attention. With the Winged Knights celebrating another successful mission, we see Noel declare that he'll expose Leon for the fraud he is, as he suspects Leon is hiding something. In the past, we notice a red, glowing body hovering over a doll-like figure, and strangely the red figure is powerless to do anything. In the present, we see Hugo being brought out of his cell only to greet Noel, a little annoyed that Noel has been visiting him often, but Noel says he wants to free Hugo and recruit him for his party. Apparently Hugo is set to be executed, but was once considered a genius seeker, all thanks to his puppeteering ability that allows him to control various powerful puppets during battle. In the past, Hugo would solo missions and eventually retired as a seeker to pursue puppet making, but one day his life flipped upside down. Hugo doubts that he'll be able to leave his holding anytime soon, but with the snap of his fingers, Noel sends the attending guard away, revealing that he had some dirt on them. Noel declares that his preparations to free Hugo are almost complete, something Hugo isn't too excited about, uttering that he has always despised how violent and foolish seekers were. Hugo says he can sense Noel's snake-like personality as he is able to take control of any situation with conviction, and as Noel leaves, he declares that he will change Hugo's mind, an idea that makes Hugo smirk. That night, we see Noel showing the others the Rockbird Beak Bar, a location Koga knows to house various strong beer ranks, but Noel could care less as he marches into the location. Instantly, Edgar from the War Eagle greets Noel, mocking him for how girlish he looks. Snapping back, Noel says he knows the names Edgar plans to give his newborn child, a piece of information that forces Edgar to leave Noel alone. With Noel announcing his clan name to everyone present, we see our trio sit down for a meal, but luckily Noel spots the Winged Knights entering not too long after them. Ophelia is surprised to see Alma is here, prompting Alma to warn Noel that Ophelia isn't too fond of Noel, but Noel says he'll use that to their advantage. When Noel introduces himself to the elf, Ophelia instantly moves to attack Noel due to his bad reputation, but Koga intercepts the attack. Seeing Koga so serious, Ophelia wonders if she should engage with him, But out of nowhere, Leon appears, asking what happened. Upon hearing that Ophelia tried attacking Noel, Leon immediately bows his head to apologize for his party members' behavior. But Noel takes the chance to call Ophelia a worthless mutt. Annoyed, Leon asks Noel to apologize, but Ophelia warns Leon to be careful of Noel, exciting Noel as he asks if the party plays with dolls. When Leon tries scolding Noel for his foul mouth, Noel asks if Leon believes he is truly an honorable person, as it seems he is trying to enforce what is right on Noel. But Leon can only grit his teeth and leave the situation. Koga and Alma point out how everyone is glaring at them. But Noel says it's all part of his plan, plus the arrogant and weak in this world are meant to be taught a lesson. Following Harold, we see him asking Marion to be more proper when working, but Marion mentions how Leo or Zeke will definitely lead the attack on the Valiant in the near future. But Harold says he believes Noel should be the one. Marion laughs at Harold's joke, but Harold asks for a wager to see if Leo or Noel will rise to the top, and Harold is willing to relinquish his position as head of the Jenkins home to Marion if she wins. At night, we follow Kime heading through the streets, only to reminisce on his past, where we see a younger-looking Leon being bullied for ratting out his friends when they stole things. Before the boys can beat Leon up, Kime arrives scaring them off, demanding to know why Leon didn't stand up for himself with his combat class. Seeing as Leon doesn't want to incite violence, we see Keem later that evening asking Leon to become powerful seekers with him. And seeing as Leon is a swordsman and Keem is a lancer, they can both protect people as they get stronger. Not too long ago, we see the Winged Knights facing off against Agitor, a forest drake with an abyssal rating of 7, and with Leon charging up a powerful energy blast whilst Keem stalls the creature. We see the squad manage to defeat the beast. In the present, we see Keem having a drink with Leon, hearing that Leon may be envious of how far Noel has gotten compared to themselves. Leon admits to his faults, attempting to praise Noel for how strong he is, but Keem declares they won't be beaten as he shows a letter requesting that their party form clans in case of emergencies in the future. With Keem and Leon pumped for the future, they're seen requesting the formation of their clan at the Seekers Guild, but Harold refuses as he knows the boys lack the hunger and drive to take on the Valiant that will spawn in the future. Keem demands to know why they were sent letters asking them to become a clan, but Harold says the Seekers Guild did no such thing. When Harold prepares to leave, Leon begs for a chance of redemption, and seeing as there may be hope, Jenkins assigns the Winged Knights to slay the Dantalion of the Cursed Eyes with an abyssal rating of 8. Interestingly, Harold says the Winged Knights will be racing against another party to slay the beast, and the winner will be allowed the opportunity to form their clan, allowing Noel to make his triumphant entrance. As everyone sits down, Harold explains that the Dantalion they'll be facing can read minds with its third eye, plus Harold allows parties to interfere with each other. Harold says he'll be monitoring the exam to prevent cheating. Plus, every member must gather before the exam starts. And to make things worse, the loser will have their party disbanded forever. With both parties signing an agreement, they agree to meet 3 days from now only for Noel and Leon to exchange insults as Noel is confident he has everything planned. With the big day arriving, we see both parties gather to take down the monster. But as the exam starts, Leon gets annoyed seeing Noel and his party setting up a picnic and playing around. Luckily, Keem stops Leon from lashing out further, only to enter into the beast's domain. Before the gang gets to work, Vaslav admits that Noel had asked him to betray the party in the past, but Vaslav said he refused. Coincidentally, Keem and Ophelia were also approached by Noel as well, but they both shoot him away. Leon says he believes in his party, all drawing their weapons as they see a wave of lower-tier beasts approaching them. And as they begin dismantling the wave, we cut back to Harold scolding Noel for forging letters to convince Leon and Keem to start their own clan. Koga and Alma are worried that the Winged Knights will slay the Dantalion too quickly. But Noel says although Leon is an exceptional leader with immense talent, he suspects that Leon's righteous personality will be his downfall. Grinning from ear to ear, Noel says he has already told Leon's party how Leon will betray them. Flashing back, we see Noel meeting up with Keem for a chat, reassuring him not to be so wary. When Noel asks Keem to betray the Winged Knights, Keem begins laughing his head off, but Noel reminds Keem that he can be free if he leaves Leon's shadow. Plus, it seems Leon will only get stronger and leave his party in the dust. Before Keem can leave, Noel mentions how Leon will be the one to betray him. But in the present, we see the Winged Knights having trouble with taking on the Dantalion, as it is able to read and evade each of their strategies. With an hour passing, we see Vaslav trying to swarm the beast with his flame summons, but his summons nor Keem's sneak attack land. Having no choice, Leon chooses to let loose a divine blast, but with the Dantalion evading, it retaliates by tossing stones to bombard the party. Sadly, Ophelia is mortally wounded during the process, and seeing as they need to retreat, Leon stalls the massive monkey with his shield, giving it his all to buy the others time to flee. With a powerful bright light emitting from Leon's shield, we see Noel finally make his move, all whilst we see Ophelia being healed in a protective barrier that hides their location. Leon says they still have a fighting chance, leading Keem to ask Leon to use up the remainder of his mana to strike the creature with a single beam attack, whilst Keem will act as decoy, but Leon refuses since the Dantalion can simply read Keem's mind. Leon says their best bet would be to team up with Blue Beyond, a revelation Noel had already told Leon's party member, but Keem and the others remind Leon that they'll have to disband if they rely on Noel's party. Leon says he doesn't want any of his members to sacrifice themselves, but Keem demands to know if Leon trusts Noel more than his best friend. Sadly, Leon says Noel is what they need now. As Keem rushes to embrace Leon, it's revealed that Keem had stabbed Leon, crying out that he was always jealous at how strong Leon was. With Keem begging to be set free, we see the Dantalion appear over the gang's protective barrier, but right on cue, Noel appears. With Noel drawing the monster's attention, he manages to leap away from the creature's advances only to signal Koga to enter the fray. Although the Dantalion can read Koga's mind, we see Koga employing his calm and serene ability to empty his mind and react accordingly to Noel's commands. To turn the tides, Noel fires off a Garma bullet worth 10 million coins, a powerful bullet that blows a hole in the monkey's chest. Interestingly, Noel's thinking is far too fast for the Dantalion to process and keep up with. And with Koga preventing the Dantalion from fleeing, we see Noel marching towards the monster. With the monster overwhelmed with Noel's thoughts, it manages to relinquish its arm to evade a lethal shot from Noel's gun, only to freakishly rip out its third and to prevent itself from reading Noel's mind. With the massive monkey now dashing at Noel with all its might, Noel gives the signal for Alma to appear, gladly accelerating towards the Dantalion. As Alma rushes towards the monkey, we see her phasing through the monster's paw to evade its counterattack, a skill that can be used once every day. Now, with the Dantalion wide open, Alma charges up a thrust attack that punctures a hole in the monkey's stomach, officially ending the mission. Before the gang can celebrate, Keem demands to know if everything is Noel's scheming, and when Noel reveals that he had set everything up in favor of his party, Keem gets pissed. Noel says he knows Keem and the others had always seen themselves in Leon's shadow, and it was inevitable that their jealousy tore them apart. Sadly, Leon himself couldn't trust in his team when the moment counted on it. Just like that, Harold announces that Noel's Blue Beyond clan has been accepted whilst the Winged Knights party is to be disbanded, news that spreads across Atrai, and Noel's name seems to be slowly garnering more attention. In the aftermath, we see Ophelia bidding Lisha farewell, all whilst Vaslav seems to be accepting Veronica Redbone's offer to join Red Lotus. Hugo is also shocked at what Noel did to such an honorable B-rank party, but Noel says Hugo will be joining his party soon, plus there is someone else he needs to recruit. Cutting over to Keem, we see him regret stabbing Leon, attempting to drink away his sorrows, but the bartender says that Leon must also be suffering seeing as he didn't trust his best friend's pleas. At the same time, we see Leon being pushed around by Edgar and his War Eagles. And seeing as Leon has no will to fight, Edgar takes the chance to brutalize Leon for all the glory he's gotten up until now. Right on cue, Noel and his party come to rescue Leon, And although Edgar is ready to brawl, his party chooses to turn tail and run. Left alone, Edgar suddenly has his nose cut off, only for Noel to warn Edgar to never mess with him again, a threat Edgar takes to heart. Now alone, Noel asks Leon to join his clan, and in exchange Leon will be their clan submaster. Plus, Noel reminds Leon that his previous teammates were people that could never match or meet Leon's expectations. Leon says he can't stand to join another clan right as his party disbands. But Noel reminds Leon that his legacy will preserve the Winged Knight's legacy. Plus, Leon should be more selfish, as it's what he needs to grow even stronger. Leon declares he'll show Noel that he is more capable than he seems, accepting the invitation. But as we cut to Harold, he mentions how he has assigned Noel Garma the King of Wolves that controls the dead, a beast with an abyss rating of 9 in the Quartz Valley, to test out his new party strength. As Noel and his party march through town, we see the townsfolk ridiculing Leon for betraying his party. And to make things worse, Keem cries that Noel stole everything from him. With Leon stepping in to protect Noel, we see Keem leap to cut down his old friend, but sadly a single strike with his palm knocks out Keem, a feat that silences his haters. As Leon turns to leave, Keem wishes Leon the best, shedding tears as he is glad to see his brother has found a new home. That evening, Noel shows off the 20 million coin clan house they'll be using, but Leon says the location used to be an old execution house that's haunted. Luckily, Noel has brought the skill to exorcise the undeads they may run into. And seeing as it's the perfect time, Noel presents everyone with a winged snake pendant. Noel says their morals will lean both towards light and dark, and their new name will officially be Wild Tempest. On the day of their next mission, we see Garmer giving our gang trouble as it is constantly reviving its kin to wear down the gang. Seeing as they need to retreat, Noel orders for the party to unleash as many attacks as they can to wipe out the monster's kin, only for the gang to retreat into a nearby cave. As Garmer enters and tracks down our crew, we see Noel setting a timer once more, only to slowly approach the beast. Noel sparks up a conversation with the monster, offering up a spraying tool they have in exchange for their lives, but Garmer laughs at the offer. Suddenly, Garmer begins to feel tired, realizing that Alma has filled the cave with her poison, a lethal trap Noel had set up for Garmer. With Garmer powerless to do anything, Noel decapitates the creature with a single bullet, only to stop his timer right as it reaches 0. The season ends with Harold acknowledging how strong Noel has gotten since they first met. But Noel says they'll be reaching even higher feats in the next few months, news that excites Harold, as he truly does see over death in Noel.